Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet. We have a great program for you. We have a new program for you. But I must tell you, I'm doing this program at about 10:38 p.m. because I have to take my wife for a procedure today. So the show must go on. Our camaraderie must go on. So folks, all of you that are listening right now, those of you in the chat, those of you, please keep it going. I know Lynette and Cheryl Elkins and LBW and all of you are going to keep it going and keeping I shouldn't only say entertainment, but the education going. Anyway, we are going to have a great show for you today. Look, we are still in fund drive mode. And my goal for today as well is $500. I am not going to have the ability to do a whole lot of pitching like we do when we're doing the program live, but I need you to give me a surprise when I get back for the show. Please go ahead and surprise us. Let's go ahead and raise that right away. Let me first tell you about the show, okay? Today we have two very good guys. We have Congressman Al Green, who currently represents District 9, and we have Congressman Christian Menefee, who just got elected in District 18. Unfortunately, Greg Abbott did a horrendous district redistricting under the tutelage of our evil president, who pretty much decided that they were going to screw Houston and take away one of their beloved, I should say, districts. It's not quite that way, but one of their beloved, more progressive districts. So now we have in contention the Honorable Al Green in a contest with the Honorable Christian Menefee. Both of these folks are good people. Both of these folks, well, they want to serve the people. So it's all up to District 18 on the choices that they're going to make, who they think will best represent them. Well, today I decided to interview each one of them. First, we're going to hear Al Green, who famously last night at this State of the Union address, he challenged the president again. He had that sign up that said, "President Trump, blacks aren't monkeys." And that was a signature that made it across the world to prove or show that the president is a utter and complete racist. And then following that interview, we'll do a little pitch again, and then we'll have the Honorable Christian Menefee. Both of these guys gave two solid interviews. Let me just tell you one thing. I am glad it's not me who has to make the choice. But listen to what they have to say. Listen to, the good thing that I like about this race is nobody went personal against anybody, which is how I think races should be run. Nobody went negative against each other. These are, like I said, are two good people running for the race, and I wish both of them well. Let's go ahead and do a little pitching before we get started. Look, this is a community radio station. This is a public radio station. This is a station that you support. This is a station that comes out and give you the kind of programming that you're getting right now, where we make a difference. We don't only do local news. We don't only do Houston news. We do it all over the country. Take a look at all the interviews that I've done. I think if you go ahead and go to if you go to our website, you'll see the myriad of interviews, not only politicians, but economists, you name it. We make sure to bring people to you to make sure we make educated decisions, to make sure that we are not magafied, to make sure that we are not willfully ignorant, to make sure that we are in the know, to make sure that we are woke. And the only way that can occur is if there are stations like ours, stations that don't sit back and just acquiesce to the plutocracy, acquiesce to the oligarchy. Stations like ours that says, on the political side that is, or on the educational side that is, give you information, worthwhile information that you can use. If you think that is valuable, like many of you, in fact, I bet many of you in the chat have already been joined members and contributors to this station. If you're listening on air, if you're listening on the internet, if you're listening in the chat, Substack, if you're listening on Twitch, if you're listening on YouTube, Twitter, wherever, I ask you to pause right now. I'll be pitching for another few. You have the time to call now, 713-526-5738, extension number 1. You can do that right now, 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And you can be a contributor to make us a better place, to make us a better country, to save our democracy. And I'm not saying that as a cliche, folks. We are in dire straits right now, and we need you. We need you to be a member. We need you to be a supporter. We need you to be an activist. We need you to do what needs to be done for us to stay on air. And there are a lot of offerings that we have. Sandy, our general manager, has really been trying to push $5 a month membership, $10 a month membership, $15 a month membership, so that we can have a steady cash flow to work with and keep this station solid, strong, and going. It's a 100,000 watt transmitter that gets us the entire eastern part of Texas. We slide into Louisiana. We inform a lot of folks, people. We inform a lot of people. I tell you, I've been out at a convention, a Netroots convention in Pittsburgh. Egberto! I'm looking around. Who knows me in Pittsburgh? Somebody who said, I listened to you in St. Louis. In Philadelphia, I'm walking up close to that market, that famous market in downtown Philadelphia. This woman walks up. Are you Egberto? Yes. How'd you figure that out? Well, I heard you talking back there and I recognize the voice. My daughter listens to you. We're all over and we're making a difference. You are making a difference as a supporter of Politics Done Right on KPFT. So I want to ask you to please give us a call, 713-526-5738. Hit extension number 1. Donate whatever you can, $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, or again, whatever you can. Coffee with Egberto, $250. Our T-shirt, the Politics Done Right T-shirt, $100. Remember, you can do this stuff in installments. Do you want a brick with an insignia with a message you want to keep in perpetuity at KPFT? $25 a month. $50 a month for an 8x8 block. The $25 is for a 4x8 block. There's so many ways for you to help this station move and stay going forward. So again, please call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Let them know this is a contribution for Politics Done Right and contribute whatever you can. Or go to kpft.org, kpft.org, and select Politics Done Right. Please remember to do that. Select Politics Done Right as a program you're supporting. And again, choose choose whatever, a one-time donation or the membership, or I should say the sustainer, where you're paying $5 a month or $10 a month or $15 a month. I have to raise $500. Even as I'm away with my wife getting this procedure done, the station must go on. All right, folks, please do that now. Please, this is what keeps our democracy going. So without further ado, let's listen to our hero in Congress who challenged the president, El Señor, the Honorable Congressman Al Green. Congressman Al Green has never been one to sit quietly in the face of injustice. Representing Texas 9th Congressional District and now running in the redrawn 18th, he once again made national headlines after being escorted out of last night's State of the Union address for directly challenging the president's racist characterization of former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Today, he joins us to discuss accountability, representation, and what moral courage looks like in this political moment. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Senor Congressman Al Green. How are you doing this afternoon, sir?
Muy bien, dear brother. And let me also say this. I appreciate you saying racism, because for some reason, that word is no longer a part of our vocabulary when we talk about the problem that afflicts people of color. We cannot say racism because if you do, you may not be invited back to the television networks because they've completely decided that this is not an issue. But I treat racism the same way I treat anti-Semitism. I think anti-Semitism should be obliterated, and I think racism should be too. And I don't think that it's wrong to say racism is still alive and well in this country and has to be addressed.
I'm going to say this. That is the difference between mainstream media, corporate media, and independent media. We give the people what the people really need to hear and what's really happening, not something that has to go through filter. So thank you for stating that. Last night, you were escorted out after confronting the president over his remarks about President Obama and Michelle Obama.
We were. And
What compelled you to act again in that moment and not remain silent?
Well, this time it was with intentionality. On the prior occasion, it was spontaneity. The intentionality developed as I completely studied this. I didn't just take it lightly. I conferred with my staff about it. I talked to friends about it. And everybody agrees that this was egregious and it's something that should be addressed. The question became, how do you address it? So after conferring, I concluded that the best way would be to confront the president face to face in his personal space, with my personal space coinciding with his personal space. This is why I positioned myself along the aisle so that when he came by, he could not avoid having me call this to his attention. And I did. I pulled out my signage and I flashed it to him and told him that Black people aren't apes. And he looked and it almost jarred him, it seems. And he quickly started to move away briskly. And then others tried to take my signage from me. So I maintained it. It was slightly damaged. And I stood before the House and I held up my signage in silent protest. Silent protest. If there was a disturbance, I didn't create it. It was the people who refused to allow me to engage in peaceful, silent protest, which is what happens at a good many peaceful protest movements. Other people become disruptive and the peaceful protesters are blamed for the disruption. I refuse to take the blame for this. If I have to suffer consequences, I will. But it was the disruptors on the other side that created the disruption that everybody had an opportunity to see live on television.
Well, you know what was interesting is they tried to avoid showing the president's interaction with that. And that is where I talk about the way that the media has been trying to shelter this person, if you will. Now, and it is very disconcerting. Now, you've been known to be
But
considered.
may I address that, please?
Yes, please do. Please do.
Let me address that because you're eminently correct. Morning Joe, I call names, by the way.
Right, and that's
Morning
good.
Joe. Morning Joe. They showed the president's entry. They showed him come down the aisle, and they clipped that portion out such that he went right on up. And it is as though it was never part of history. This is how history is rewritten, how it is not completely written, how history is distorted. This happened on MS Now this morning. When I looked at it, I was amazed that they would do this, but I shouldn't be because it's done quite often.
You know, and it's been done. And I think that is one of the reasons we need heroes. We need people that are not scared to use the word racism, people that are not scared to say, no, the president did this and not cater how you are going to express things. You have to have the courage to do it. You've been known as the conscience of the Congress for that reason. Do you believe? Because some would say, oh, that creates division. How comes you confronting that which is divisive actually creates division? Tell me, please.
Well, here's what's ironic. Those same people did not, for the most part, criticize the president when he called members of Congress lunatics from the floor of the House of Representatives at the joint session of Congress. So the president engages in this discourse, this demeaning discourse, such that he would call people persons of low IQ. He tells people that they should go back to some place that they've never come from. It's remarkable how he does all these things. But if you have a counterforce, for every action, there's this equal and opposite reaction. So when you engage with the equal and opposite reaction for good, to counter what he's doing for bad or ill intentionality, then somehow you are creating the problem by doing this. And I suppose what people are saying, just suffer through it. You'll be okay. Yeah. Well, I don't choose to do that. I don't do that.
That is exactly what they're saying. And what we actually need, sir, are people who are leaders that actually spines up others to do it, because that is what we're having. That's why the Republican Congress allows him to do as they're pleased. Nobody is spining up to do what's necessary. I love to see what you do out there. Now, going into your race, the redistricting that places you in District 18 significantly reshapes your constituency. How do you see the political and demographic changes influencing your campaign and legislative priorities?
Well, the gravamen of the circumstance is this. Republicans have resorted to a new paradigm. In this paradigm, they no longer try to take me out when there's a Republican in the race against me in the general election. They come at me in the primary, and they come at me with $1.5 million. There was an article first published in the New York Times on February the 12th. It explained how this crypto entity was going to spend this $1.5 million against me because I have expressed my concerns about what they're trying to accomplish with cryptocurrency. And I expressed it because they don't want any regulations at all. And the thing that crypto is best used for now is transferring illicit funds. If you want to get some money to someone and it's somehow tainted, then you can do it directly from one person to another without going through what we call a central bank, as you would with the American dollar. Well, when this happens, my dear brother, what we're doing is making it possible for people to do some dastardly deeds with the money they need, and they may be doing it in other places or they may be doing it here. So I am very much concerned about how it's going to impact this, but I'm also concerned about how it will impact the American dollar. The American dollar is the preferred currency around the world. It's the reserve currency. If it is replaced with something else, we will pay more when we borrow money from other countries, and we borrow a lot of money from China. We will pay more for the money we borrow. The dollar will not be as prominent, and it cannot be used to help this nation the way it has been, sometimes not for the best of reasons, to be very honest, but I still want to preserve its preeminence. Well, these people are antithetical to my thoughts. And as a result, they graded me and they graded my opponent. My opponent got an A. And when he got that A, the floodgates opened for dollars to pour into the campaign against me. And that's what they're doing. One, inundating the airways with messages about how great my opponent is and not understanding. I suppose they do understand that in doing this, they're putting a person in a position to do something that is not going to be beneficial to any of us. I have seniority. I have seniority such that I sit on the row right next to Maxine Waters. And as a result, I'm in line to move forward to the chairperson of a committee. But Maxine is a chair. I ought to respect her and would work with her. But my point to you is you destroy seniority, and that's what's about to happen here with me and some others. When you destroy it, money will rule. And when money rules, we lose. Now, seniority is not a perfect system, but it is a lot better than saying the person who can raise the most money is going to be chair of the committee. That, my friend, will cause us to cater to the very wealthy at the expense of the persons who are extremely poor.
I want to make a mention right here that's very important, and this is just a narrative for our audience. Cryptocurrency is not real. Cryptocurrency, I think it's important for people to understand this. Cryptocurrency is the figment of the imagination of programmers, and it is backed by absolutely nothing. And that our president is involved with that, and that he's trying to monetize crypto with the US dollar by giving it a backing on the US dollar is it's disastrous, to put it bluntly. And we have to have people that are honest enough to come out and tell you that you're putting our country in danger if we have anything to do with crypto. Go look at the volatility of all the different forms of crypto, and you will understand what's going on. So please tell our audience exactly, if you are reelected, or well, I should say if you're elected to 18 because you're previously 9. If you're elected to 18, this district that I guess is still about 75% your previous district, is that correct?
That's correct.
75% your previous. What's your intent for them?
Well, my intentionality has a multiplicity of facets associated with it. First of all, and I think and foremost, this is very important, we do have to deal with the invidious discrimination. We cannot continue to use terminology that is slightly indicative of what we're talking about. We've got to be very direct about it. So I plan to do that. I plan to also do something about affordability, but in a different way. What we're doing to a certain extent now is superficial, but I want to go to the root cause. I want to go to the root cause, which happens to be the fact that Black unemployment is usually almost twice that of white unemployment. Now, you can't say that we're not educated. You can't say that we don't know how to count, that we don't know how to do the various things that are required to have a job that pays us equal pay for equal work. And for it to consistently be twice that of white unemployment has to be dealt with. I believe that one of the ways you deal with that is to raise the minimum wage. And it can't be raised to $10 or $15 an hour, which is why I have legislation to raise it to $25 an hour. If you're going to work, you ought to earn a living wage. And work for me is having full-time employment. No one should work full-time and live at or near the poverty line. But there's bigger than that. And here is the centerpiece of my agenda as it relates to this aspect of my agenda. And it is that we have to stop the discrimination in lending. And whether we like it or not, we don't have the empirical evidence on an individual basis. But when I was the chairperson of oversight and investigations for the Financial Services Subcommittee, we discovered, and with clear and convincing evidence, that a Black person can go into the bank very well qualified and have to pay more for a loan, get terms that are onerous, and not get as much money as a white person who is less qualified. Now, people don't like to hear me say this, but it's just the truth. but Black people can't prove it because you don't know what the other guy received. Well, I have a piece of legislation that would do for the consumer what the banks already have in place for themselves. If you defraud the bank, you can go to jail for up to a year and be fined up to $1 million for defrauding the bank. But if the bank defrauds you of your loan, doesn't give you a loan that you're qualified for, there is no criminal penalty associated with that. You're going to have to file civil lawsuits and do all kinds of things to try to piece together something that would resemble justice. But we have a piece of legislation that passed the House of Representatives, by the way, that would make it a crime to deny you a loan that you're entitled to. And if we do this, we'll eliminate a lot of the invidious discrimination that takes place in lending. And when you do that, people can get the bootstraps that we are told we have to pull ourselves up by. The bootstraps over in the banks. Other people get their bootstraps from banks, and we're supposed to get our bootstraps from under the bed or somewhere in the house. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's got to work the same way for everybody. And that legislation would do it. And we pass it in the House. We couldn't pass it in the Senate, which is one of the reasons why I say my work is still to be done. These are some of the things, but at the very, very, surrounding all of this, I guess, encircling all of this is the notion that we have to have a Department of Reconciliation to deal with reparations. 240 plus years of free labor, and people are benefiting from it to this day. The intergenerational wealth that was transferred along the way, that can't go unnoticed. I don't deny it in any way. I don't say that, well, you don't owe me anything. What you owe is justice. That's what you owe. And justice includes reparations for 240 years of free labor. These folk who were enslaved were the economic foundational mothers and fathers of the country. America would not be the rich country it is today, but for their having been enslaved, building the roads, the bridges, planting the seeds, harvesting the crops, and doing it for 240 years. This wasn't something that happened 20 or 30 years. It happened centuries. Children were born into slavery, lived their lives enslaved, and died enslaved. So these are the kinds of things that I deal with that a good many people don't find favor with.
It is important. Let me just say one thing, Congressman. Every drug on the market right now, they go through certain types of tests. They don't know exactly, they don't have the exact mechanism that it works within the cell, but we know that it works. If it quacks like a duck, if it say, I don't remember the term, that's exactly what it is. So when you say, well, you cannot really prove that discrimination stop loans or discrimination give you a higher rates and for car loans, etc. I beg to slightly object and say, no, I think it's a statement. What you made there was a statement of fact. Those are things that occurred. After all, I wrote a book called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, because I tell you, in business and in every other aspect of my life as a professional, and I imagine you've gone through the same thing as well as a congressman, those are absolute facts that we need not sit back and tone down. So thank you for saying that. And it is good to have somebody that is willing to go out there and say that.
Well, let me say this on that point, if I may. We proved it. Here's how you prove it, with something called paired testing.
Yes.
You get three people, all of whom can be equally qualified, or you can have the African-American more qualified than the other two. And the African-American goes in and is rejected, and the two persons who are least qualified, who happen to be of a different hue, they get the loans. I mean, it can be proven. And the Congress that I am in now on the Republican side, they fight paired testing. They don't want to have that occur. They won't fund having fair testing take place. That's why my legislation is important, because we included their fair paired testing so that we can acquire the empirical evidence and show that the discrimination is taking place in lending, also in purchasing a home, purchasing a car. The car is probably the greatest example of it, because two people can go in, purchase the same car on the same day, and one person will pay more for that car than the other person simply because the dealership can get it out of the other person. And usually that's an African American.
Congressman, I've lived it. You've lived it. Congressman, I'm out of time, but I'd like to ask you to please tell me what you want to go out there and say right now.
I want people to know that what occurred last night was absolutely necessary, because we have to take a stand against this racism. If we do not stand against it, it can again rear its ugly head in ways that we thought we had put in the past forever. The clock can be rolled back. It really can. And we can find ourselves with someone saying, hey, I don't have to serve anybody that I don't want to serve in my restaurant. And the Commerce Clause, which brings this into play, this Supreme Court would say, well, maybe he's right. I don't believe this Supreme Court would give us a favorable ruling on Brown versus the Board of Education today. I don't believe it would. And so I just simply say to you, I think that we've got to fight racism. We have to do it openly and notoriously. We have to do it on the floor of the House of Representatives.
It has been my honor to have you. Thank you so kindly, Congressman, for once again being on Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
All right, folks, before we go to the Honorable Congressman Christian Menefee, got to do another pitch. We need, again, to raise a few dollars. We need to raise, again, for our program, $500 for this hour. So we're going to get to Christian Menefee in a minute, but please consider calling right now. You have the time. You're not going to miss Christian. You have 3-4 minutes before we move on. Give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And so just tell them that this is a donation for Politics Done Right on KPFT, and give whatever you can. What are your options? Whatever you want. You can give a one-time contribution, or you can give a sustainer. Our general manager, Sandy, in order to help him budget better, we're really trying to get sustainers for 2 reasons. Helping budgeting, and number 2, because it allows us to reduce the amount of time we have to spend doing this, which I hate, which means pitching, asking you for money. For those who support us on a sustaining basis, the more sustainers we get, the shorter these fund drives can be. So, folks, please consider doing that. $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month. Or if you just want to do a one-time, get a T-shirt, $100 a month. Get a coffee with Egberto, $250. Remember, when you get these different gifts, it can be prorated over time on a monthly basis. So this is what we're all about, to help us keep this 100,000 watt transmitter going. Look, I am $100. I'm not $100. I'm a $10 a month donor to the station. And let me be clear. I make absolutely nothing from the contributions that you make to this station. When you call 713-526-5738 and hit extension 1 and donate, it all goes to the station. Every penny. None of it comes to me. When you go to kpft.org and you select donate and you select Politics Done Right as the program you're supporting, I don't get a penny. But what happens is it is indicated that that money was raised under the tutelage of Politics Done Right, so that it will be allocated appropriately and show that Politics Done Right is holding its own to keep its time slot on this station. So again, folks, please go ahead and support us now. Our goal for this morning is $500. This program requires $500 a day to sustain what we're doing. And if we meet that, if we meet our goal, we can, till the next fund drive, you know that you have Politics Done Right coming to you. That number again is 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, hit the donate button, scroll down to make sure that it is going under the Politics Done Right domain, and then give whatever you can, whether a sustainer or a one-time gift. You can see a list of opportunities when you go to our website at kpft.org. But folks, we cannot do this without you. Think about this. How much do you give to your cable company every month? How much do you give to many different subscriptions that are not as fruitful, if you will, or not as effective, that you don't even play a part in? As a member of, as a listener of KPFT, you have agency. How many of you call in to speak to me? How many of you email and talk and get responses and say, yes, you have somebody that you can talk your politics to? We provide that interaction that many are looking for. And that interaction is not only for that interaction between those folks. Having that interaction is beneficial to the society at large. So again, folks, please support the station. Please support our 100,000 watt transmitter. Give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, hit that donate button, and support us best you can. Again, I want you to see the value of what we do, the value of supporting a station like this. It's really immeasurable, especially in these times. So again, please call us 713-526-5738, extension 1, or go to kpft.org. Coming up, the Honorable Congressman Christian Menefee, another very good candidate who is passionate about his community. Today we're joined by newly elected Congressman Christian Menefee, who now represents Texas' 18th Congressional District following the passing of Sylvester Turner and the late Sheila Jackson Lee. District 18 has long stood at the center of civil rights, economic justice, and grassroots power. So welcome to Politics Done Right, Congressman Menefee. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm excited to be on.
Well, let me tell you this. You have big shoes to fill. Those are two giants that had that position. How do you feel about coming after these two?
It's an absolute honor. And the legacy was huge with them, but it grows even past them. This is the seat of Barbara Jordan, of Mickey Leland, of Craig Washington, of so many greats. So it's not lost on me that there is a big legacy and that there are huge shoes to fill. I'm going to do my best to try to make the folks in the district proud, to be a fighter each and every day, but kind of bring my own flavor to it, right? I'm running not to mimic exactly any of the folks who have served in this office before, but to do it in a way that feels comfortable to me. But there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the fight of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, from the eloquence of the late Barbara Jordan, from the desire to dive into issues that impact hunger from the late Mickey Leland, and of course, just from the mastery of the late Sylvester Turner. So a lot of lessons to be learned, and I look forward to carrying the torch forward.
Well, look, you are now in a contest, 18th Congressional District, because what happens as they redistricted and merged a whole lot of the area in District 9 and 18th, it now puts you in contention with another good person, Al Green. And for a lot of people, that's disconcerting. So my question to you is, first of all, how do you feel about what Texas has done to the community?
It's absolutely horrific. We got here because the president of the United States knew that his populars would be, his policies would be unpopular. If you look at what Trump has rolled out and cutting SNAP benefits and cutting access to Medicaid, Trump knew that that was unpopular. So he went out and asked Abbott to do mid-decade redistricting right here in the state of Texas. And of course, Republicans, as they so often do, oblige. And they targeted Black and brown districts. So they're stripping away the representation, whereas we had 2 Black representatives in the Houston area. Now there's just going to be 1. And they have pitted community servants against each other. I think it's absolutely horrific. It's disgusting. And it represents the worst elements of the Republican Party to put our communities in this type of situation.
Now, one of the problems that I see in researching District 18 is poor voter turnout. What are you going to do to let these, when there's poor voter turnout, there are usually two things. People are apathetic, or they actually think there's nothing in it for them. What are you going to do to ensure that these people see, look, you're not only voting for me, but you're voting for the policies that the party and people that they really want in power represents?
We're trying our best to bring a new excitement, a new vigor to campaigning. If you look at what Zohran Mamdani did out of New York, part of it was his policy positions, that he was unabashedly progressive. But a lot of it was just he was so charismatic. When you turn on his video and you watched it, you couldn't help but find yourself smiling, saying, man, I kind of like this guy, right? He was unapologetically himself. And we've really tried to encapsulate that in my campaign from start to finish. This has been an unapologetically Christian Menefee campaign. My perspective as a Black millennial coming up in this country, who was raised in Black communities, who very much believes that this has become a society of the haves and the have-nots. And we're hoping that that will bring new folks in. And I think that's exactly what you saw in the special election, was new people coming to the process, now getting engaged in politics because they were excited, because they hadn't seen very many Black elected officials talk about how we need to do every single thing we can to tax the wealthy, to raise the minimum wage, to fix the tax code so that corporations aren't ending up paying $0 in taxes, or billionaires are paying the same amount in taxes that working people are paying. That excited people, and we did it in a way that many folks hadn't seen before. And so that's what I think I'm bringing to this race, is a vigor, a kind of new energy that people across this country think the Democratic Party is lacking. And beyond that, I understand that this is a team sport. We're never going to be able to get the wins that we want to see in public education and Medicaid access without flipping the state of Texas. And I'm not running for a statewide seat, but my entire time in public service, I've done every single thing I can to get folks elected who see the world the same way that I do, whether that be supporting Dexter McCoy when he was first running for county commissioner, rocking with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett when she was first running for Congress, or even supporting James Tallarico when he was running for state representative out in Austin. We have to understand it's a team sport. And so if you're in this for your own self-aggrandizement, if you're in this just to elevate yourself, it's not going to position us better to flip this state and to get the real change that we want to see. So I'm going to work not just to elect myself in my district, but once I get out of my primary, I'm going to be working like hell to support folks across this state who see the world the same way that I do, to get them elected so that we can get the change we want to see in the state of Texas.
I have one specific topic I want to ask you about, and that is Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. You have a district that have a lot of older people that are, in fact, they're dependent on Medicare, and many of them have been pushed into Medicare Advantage. Personally, and this is my personal opinion based on the facts that I research, I think Medicare Advantage is a fraud. What are you going to do to go out there and ensure that, first of all, I think it should be cut, period. But if it's going to be there, what are you going to do to ensure that the con that has occurred to many of your own constituents are mitigated and taken care of?
I'm going to work as hard as I can, both within the caucus and across the aisle, to restore both the ACA subsidies and to make sure that any weakened or watered down version of Medicare is phased out. Look, I want Medicare for all. OK, I'm a single payer healthcare.
Oh, wait, stop. You're a sanctioned Medicare for all supporter?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I was good.
Yeah,
Please
I was
continue.
endorsed by the Medicare for All PAC. So growing up, my brother had childhood cancer. He battled leukemia.
Oh,
and that
sorry
was,
to hear that.
Well, look, the good news is that after years and years of us going through from hospital to hospital, the entire time, my parents had military insurance, which is TRICARE. It's a combination of TRICARE and Medicare. But because of that, Alberto, he was able to get all of his treatment. I'm talking about radiation, chemo, and then ultimately a bone marrow transplant, right? All the tests, all the shots, all the exams, all of that. And there was no copay for us for any of that. And so now we're almost 20 years later, and my brother's been cancer-free for more than 20 years. But I remember very vividly being in those hospitals and seeing those parents have to make those decisions about whether they're going to be able to afford for their baby to get the next round of chemo, the next round of radiation. And I just don't think that anybody in this country should have to choose between putting food on the table and getting life-saving treatment. If you look, there are a lot of sophisticated countries out there, developed countries, right, that have figured out how to do universal healthcare. There's no reason why a country like ours, which is, supposed to be the world superpower, can't figure out a way to do it as well. So yes, I am team single payer healthcare. But until we get there, it's about making sure that there's as much access to affordable healthcare as possible. And that means states like Texas shouldn't be able to refuse expanding Medicaid, right? So that folks across our communities now don't have fair access to healthcare because the governor is refusing to accept those dollars. Healthcare is going to be a big issue for me once I get settled into Congress, and I plan to be an advocate on the front lines.
Now, if you're reelected into the position, because let me tell you what I find. I even here in Texas, right? I consider our state legislature criminal and murderous. When one, or at best involuntary manslaughter, when one knows that their policies actually kill, one is responsible for said killing. In Texas, we have denied Texans the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which means many Texans that would otherwise have health care don't. One of the most disappointing things to me, I'm not saying this on your part, but I'm saying this on many of our politicians, Democratic politicians in the legislature, is they haven't made enough Texans aware that it is their Republican legislators that is preventing them from having health care. They have not, in my opinion, been loud enough. Now, as the leader of the pack, or one of the leaders of the pack in the federal government, would you be one that actually continuously ensure that people understand that the reason they don't have health care is because of the Republicans in the Texas legislature that is denying them said care?
100%. I think there's a huge area of growth for Democrats is messaging. We tend to just not be good at it. And one thing I've already started learning from people is that when you talk about 25 things, people start to tune you out, right?
Right.
You have to pick some core messages that you're focused on. My campaign has been run largely on putting more money back in people's pockets, right? And that comes through raising the minimum wage. That comes through down payment assistance. That comes through Pell Grants. That comes through universal health care, so they're not having to shell out so much on healthcare costs. That comes through saving Social Security so that people aren't having to put so much down to try to protect a retirement now. Really being thoughtful in our messaging in a way that is coordinated and that is targeted, and not kind of, every single thing that comes, oh, look, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And I think healthcare is something that Texans across the state understand, right? Why is it that the folks in Washington state have more broad access to healthcare than the folks in Texas? It just doesn't make any sense, other than the fact that the governor is refusing to expand Medicaid. So I plan to be a messenger for the Democratic Party across the state of Texas, across the nation, and making sure that folks understand what's going on. But in order to do that, you have to understand that this is a team sport, okay? You cannot get into office and stop campaigning after the primary. Refuse to support other candidates in a thoughtful way. Not raising money for other folks. My track record is clear. Since I first got involved in this business, I've supported candidates at the city level, at the county level, statewide. And until we understand that we are all playing for the same team, trying to make life better for folks in Texas, I think we're going to continue to see those problems. Like there is no Thurgood Marshall coming to save us. There's no, Barack Obama coming to save us. We have to all bind together and do every single thing we can to flip this state instead of looking for a single savior. And the politicians have to stop believing that they are that one savior and understand that they play for a team and that we're going to rise and fall together.
Congressman, what should I have asked you that I didn't?
What should you have asked that you didn't? How's it going in Congress? Man, I just got there. I now know how to get from room A to room B. I've joined the Progressive Caucus. I'm super proud of that. There's some great stuff going on. Obviously, the first major vote that I took was on DHS funding, which I proudly voted against it because ICE has been terrorizing our communities. They've been radicalized, and they've now gotten to the point to where they're executing people in the street. And I just don't think we should be funding an agency that does that. One thing I found is that individual relationships are going to matter to get stuff done. So I'm committed to continue to work to build relationships with anybody in that building, so that I can fight intelligently. I've always been a puncher. I've always been, I think the Chronicle called me a firebrand, and I'm going to continue to be that. But for me, it's about doing so effectively, right? Not just screaming for the sake of screaming, not fighting cosmetically for cosmetic reasons, but fighting in a targeted surgical way that's going to yield real results for the community. So I'm looking forward to being the same fighter, but just as effective in Congress.
Congressman Christian Menefee, congressman from District 18, and now again running in District 18. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Two great candidates for District 18. Well, we are pretty much over with the two interviews that we have here. So what we're going to be doing now is simply trying to talk to you about KPFT and about why KPFT is deserving of your support. I know the old timers have heard the stories many times and again about the power of this station, having been blown off the air twice and coming back, having gone through the pandemic and lost the entire building to mold and decay, and we came back strong. Having gone through all kinds of problems within the city, etc., we're still here. Why? Because it's a community station built on grit. It's a community station that, irrespective of what's out there, we know, all of us that have been a part of this ascent of this station from its inception to the present, that it is something that not only was needed here in Houston, not only needed here in Harris County, not only needed here in Texas, but as you can see now with the reach that we have, needed all over. And by the way, and we need all over as well. So please, at this time, you know the value that we provide. You know the knowledge that we are out there, that we're putting out there. You know the knowledge that you contribute to. Please give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, hit that donate button. After you hit that donate button, select Politics Done Right as the program you're supporting and give whatever you can. So what are your options? Your options are simple. We're looking for sustainers, if at all possible. What are sustainers? Small monthly contributions. Can you afford a coffee a month or two? I'm assuming a coffee costs about $5. Sandy tells me it's a lot more sometimes. But let's say $5 a month. Can you afford that? Sign it up and forget about it. To you, it doesn't mean much. To us, it means our existence. Maybe $10 a month. I am a $10 a month contributor. And let me tell you why I'm a $10 a month contributor. I believe in supporting activism. I believe in supporting those people that are making a difference, those people that are fighting for us. And while here at KPFT, I am doing my brand of informing, my brand of activism is informing and participation, etc. But there are many others doing other things as well. That's why I'm a supporter of organizations like the Daily Kos, Common Dreams, Op-Ed News. That's why I'm a supporter of the Bernie Sanders group, OR. That's why I'm a supporter of Act Blue and many others on in that domain. Small contributions, not big contributions, small contributions. Some of them I give $10 a month. On Our Revolution, I give $2.70 a month. I've been doing that for years. I signed it and forgot about it. And it still comes out all of the times. Like I said, I do $10 a month here. Most of them that I'm doing is between $10 and $15 a month. I have a particular budget that I say, this is my 501c3 and activism budget. And I spread it around. And I hope that many of you will consider doing the same, even as you give to other charities, to other activist groups, to other political groups, to other politicians. I ask that you add us to your list and become a supporter. We do good work. We do good work. We inform and we do good work. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Let them know this is for Politics Done Right. Please make sure to do that so that the funds will be allocated appropriately. I don't get a penny. It all goes to the station. Please also, or in lieu of doing the telephone call, go to kpft.org. Again, that is kpft.org. Hit that donate button. Select Politics Done Right as a program you are supporting and give whatever you can. $5 a month, $10 a month. My goal for today is $500. So we need quite a few of you doing $5 a month, a little bit less doing $10 a month. Let's get this over the hump. There were a few days that I didn't make my goal. I ask you if we can go over the goal. That would even be great. That would even be better. But we need to keep the station going. And I know I can count on you. I know I can count on you saying, yes, it is worth it. I got to get out of here, folks. My time is up. So I want you to know, first of all, you can reach me directly, info@politicsdoneright.com, or rather, kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. You can get the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We need you. kpft.org, hit that donate button. Even after I go off air, you can still donate in the name of Politics Done Right. Please do so now. I ask you so kindly. Please do so now. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.